Nintendo has made a grave mistake by overlooking the value of Virtual Console on Switch. Last week, the Big N finally lifted the veil on their paid online service for Nintendo Switch. Aside from joining the rest of the competition with an obtuse paywall for regulating online play, which is a topic for another time, new details emerged on the other new features of the service, including save data backup to a cloud, access to the Nintendo smartphone app, which if we're being honest is a redundant piece of software that should have been integrated in the Switch anyway. Again, topic for another time. The most interesting addition, however, is the Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online service, a mouthful of a title that offers a Netflix-style service with access to a library of 20 NES games at a time, complete with new online functionality for cooperative or competitive play, allowing players to try these games of yore in a whole new way. While neat, one of the most striking questions was, well, what does this mean for the Virtual Console? Simple answer really, there will be no such thing. You heard that right. As reported by Kotaku, a Nintendo spokesperson said, quote, "There are currently no plans to bring classic games together under the Virtual Console banner, as has been done on other Nintendo systems." Okay, next question then. Why the hell not? The Virtual Console has been around since the release of the Wii back in 2006, long before Nintendo even established the eShop for widespread digital distribution. With well over 10 years of brand recognition under its belt, the Virtual Console was always an invaluable feature to Nintendo's family of systems, preserving their legacy of legendary software across the Wii, Wii U, and even on the go with the 3DS. For many players, the Virtual Console enabled them to experience games that they would have no means of playing otherwise, and in some cases even discover new favorites that would shape their taste and develop their interest in video games as a whole. Kids born of a later generation were given a second chance to enjoy these classic titles, becoming die-hard fans of certain franchises right from the series' roots, eager to enjoy the new installment from Nintendo just around the corner. Yet somehow this initiative doesn't seem to be on Nintendo's radar. Not only is Nintendo rejecting easy revenue from the Virtual Console sales, it's denying the exposure of their historic games that ultimately work to market their upcoming releases. That's not to say that Nintendo's implementation of Virtual Console was perfect, rather, it was plagued with issues. Strict pricing left many titles well overpriced of their appropriate value, the release schedule for bringing titles to the service was painfully slow, and a lack of account management had purchases bound to the user's hardware, meaning players would have to re-buy the same game over and over again across all their separate Nintendo devices. But the Switch had the opportunity to ramify all these errors and fully realize the full potential of the service. Perhaps they are simply dropping the old Virtual Console moniker to distance themselves from the old branding of the Wii era. Granted, that didn't stop them from keeping the Mii's around, nonsensical spelling and all, but with branding springing up like Arcade Archives from publisher Hamster Corporation that Nintendo themselves have been contributing to with games like vs. Super Mario Bros., maybe they simply plan to release their older titles in this new fashion. Companies like Sega are taking matters into their own hands as well, with a plethora of classic games as part of the Sega Ages collection releasing on Switch later this summer. However, this assumption is highly unlikely considering we're talking about Nintendo here, the industry's ultimate control freak over their properties. It's doubtful that the company would rest the responsibility of distributing their library of games to anyone else. So that potential reasoning for this daft decision contradicts itself. The most mind-boggling aspect of this decision is that, in turn, this means that the commercially failed Wii U has a wider catalog of titles available than the Switch. Have you taken a look at the Wii U eShop lately? Probably not, but if you do, you'll find a great deal of incredible retro titles from the NES era, all the way to the GBA, and even re-releases from the Wii. Games like Earthbound and Zelda: A Link to the Past, Mega Man Zero and Castlevania: Circle of the Moon, Super Mario Galaxy and Metroid Prime Trilogy, the list goes on. Now we're being told that all these games will no longer be available on our new piece of modern hardware. Not only that, but it's a piece of hardware that is perfectly catered to the short, segmented style of play that many older games excel at. This is wholly reminiscent of Sony's transition from the PS3 to the PS4 and dropping PS Classics in favor of PS Now. PS Now has even introduced PS2 games into its service, which has effectively killed any chance of PS Classics ever making a return. Right now, Microsoft is actually proving to be the best at preserving their legacy with the Xbox One backwards compatibility initiative for both Xbox 360 and the original Xbox games, and they have the least history to hold on to. Again, topic for another time. It seems Nintendo is more inclined to sell their legacy in difficult to secure collectible novelty boxes in the form of the NES and SNES classic machines, instead of making their products easily accessible and available. Well, at least the emulation scene is going strong, though it's doubtful that that's the kind of mindset Nintendo was hoping to elicit with their departure from the Virtual Console. Regardless, hopefully this whole spiel will be disproven by Nintendo, rendered null and void by a miraculous showcase of their Nintendo Online service, providing a superior method of revisiting the retro era. But until they do, it stands to reason that the Switch has just missed out on an unparalleled opportunity.